British aristocracy factor in. They think they're free and the British has got nothing to do with it. It's extremely important that they read Dr. John Coleman and Dope Incorporated from people like Webster Tarpley. Those are highly recommended. And then satellite to that is, of course, then the G. Edward Griffin, who do speak about the same thing, and Eustace Mullins, that kind of thing. And those are crucial. There's so many others I could mention and have listed. If people go to my articles and look at the Constitution Con article or look at the Weapons of Mass Destruction Found article, go to the bottom and you'll find all these authors that I list. But since you asked me that question right now, those are the ones I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A guy called, he wrote the book Treason in America, Anthony Chaikin. An incredibly important book there. You know, so there's because you are speaking just about the conspiracy aspect, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, just in your opinion, since you have such a much more broad understanding of all the material, be it symbolism, be it control, or even just historical hidden knowledge. If someone was really looking to dive in, where's a good jumping off point? I'm sure all these books are great jumping off points.
I would recommend my own work because I've tried to synthesize just for that very reason.
Right. That's why I love your work, because you do that, and you also, you give your sources all the time, every time, and you, even in this talk alone, in this 2-hour talk, I'm going to have to go back. I've probably got 1,000 hours of material now to go and research just based on all the references to other work, which I think is great. I don't have that type of memory to be able to do that.
Well, I just do it all the time. I don't really have a good memory either, but the thing is I just do it all the time. But you see, then if you say somebody was wanting to study the symbolism thing, I'd have a whole bunch of different authors for them. Say they were interested in the history of Christianity, the Templars, I have gone through all of this subject matter all my life and been able to synthesize the best of the best. I mean, actually by reading it. So, I read maybe 20 books a month, excuse me. And therefore, over the years, just by the simple act of doing that, you find out who is just utterly worthless or only half good and who's absolutely bloody marvelous, So say I was talking about Egypt or, then or the Bible, then I got my Tony Bushbys and my Ralph Ellis's and Mustafa Gadalas and Ahmed Osman's, So it depends from which school you're coming. If you're talking more on the psychological aspect, then you have, different people to recommend and all of this. Symbolism, of course, is very, very important. So you have different people to recommend there. Judaism, the history of Judaism. I can save people, centuries there, by recommending things that they should read. So it's about eclectically having your fingers on the pulse of all of this different subject matter, because I'm not a narrow guy. I don't get only fanatical about one area and beat that to death, because then you become sort of partisan, then you become sort of obsessed. And by the moment that you do that, you're missing other key information over here that you may not be interested in. And this is also what's happening a lot in this movement. Like, for instance, you barely see anyone in this revisionist movement ever talking about philosophy or psychology, and very few ever talking about catastrophism. And they should be, and it would help their work to do so. When I first came into the movement, nobody was even speaking about Ireland and the incredible reservoir of knowledge that you get from studying the Irish Celts, not the Celts, but the Irish and then the Celts and so on. So there's, as I say, it's because it's partly early days yet, and half the greatest books on any of these subjects have only come out within a very short period of time. Remember I was saying about the healing and that we were in a short, early period of time? That's also corroborated by the fact that some of the greatest discoveries have only been made in about the last 20, 30 years. And even some people could argue within 20 years. Some of the great authors I would mention, their books have only been out, including my own, within a very, very short period of time. So again, even though there's been great champions before, it's only now, especially in the field of Judaism, for instance. Right now, we have many Jews themselves blowing the whistle on the lie of Israel and on the lie of the Israelites. Jewish men, people I can mention and have mentioned. Actually, Jewish authors themselves, like Shlomo Sand and others, who are coming out from within these organizations and showing you, it's built on lies, it's built on mind control. There isn't any science to back it up, and the science that's been handed to you is bogus science. It's all propaganda, There's a huge propaganda machinery at loose in the world. So the one thing I will say is that, yeah, I do in fact read the books. I just don't read like a comment or two on some Amazon website or whatever. I really buy the books, I read them, I study them meticulously, and try to then summarize the best parts of the book. So if people go to my astrotheology site or the Irish Origin site and go to those appendices areas, they will see very detailed summaries of some great books, that would cost a lot for people to buy and a hell of a lot of time to read. And even if you did read it, you might not even be able to, summarize or realize why this book is important. I've done that work myself for a lot for people to go on my websites and check it out. And on a little bit lesser level on the forum, I try to do the same thing, but that certainly does mean that I do have my favorite authors. There's some pretty standard authors that are absolutely crucial. I mean, absolutely crucial to know about.
I'm excited to go and check it all out. I mean, I've checked out obviously in this week since talking to you. I've been just hitting your material as hard as possible because I asked you after watching Architects in Control, and I was shocked that you were willing to come on the show and talk to us about this stuff, and it's great. I appreciate it immensely. But I guess to wrap it up and let you carry on with your day, just to wrap it up, like, what are you working on right now?
Lots of things. As I said, the Tree of Life, I'm trying to get that together. We're revising all of my 3 books, doing just a normal update on those, and various DVD projects, slowly working on those. I mean, a lot of online stuff. So it's unbelievable. It's not a moment there's not even a moment to blink. It's just such a busy time right now.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this because this was very educational for me. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you, and we'll certainly, if you're up to it, we'll do it again. There's a lot of other areas to go into, so I'd be happy to. It's always a pleasure for me, to speak with people who actually know things, right on, and have good questions about it, as opposed to hosts who really don't have a clue, and haven't got the right motives. It appears to people that I do a lot of interviews, and in fact, I actually do not do a lot of conferences or interviews for the very purpose of, that the people just don't have integrity or they're out for themselves or what it might be. So, I'm always glad to come on when there is knowledge there and there's the eagerness. So, thank you for giving me that time as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm obviously a layman. We're both laymen, but, we have an incredible interest. And, I feel fulfilled today.
Of course.
Well, see, I'm also a layman. I always maintain and say clearly that I am no expert on any of these things. The jury is always out. I could be wrong in everything. We're all in in fact, so much of my work is collaborative. People send me stuff on a daily basis, sometimes, hundreds and hundreds of things a week. That's one thing. And secondly, I'm always keeping an open mind. I always think that, what I've seen and what I've learned, of course, you proceed by assuming that you're right. Otherwise, you couldn't move out of bed in the morning. But you always keep the intellectual openness to realize that not only could you be completely wrong, but you need to always you always need to be actively thinking about the opposite position that you're taking. And I do that a lot. And I think a lot of people do not do this. They become obsessed, but I don't. I'm very strong when I advocate what I believe to be the case. But I always personally keep an open mind to say, maybe that's completely the opposite. In fact, what is the opposite? Let me study that. And then, as I said, by going through all of these different books that come out, I'm also very aware of all the disinformation. I'm also very aware that if you don't do what I do and you don't help people go to the right sources, they're going to probably be swamped with all of this disinformation, because now that now that the big brother has understood that there's a gigantic movement throughout the world looking for this truth and digging deeply, they have unleashed their own robots through the publishing orgs to write books that apparently are also revelatory in nature. And this goes right across the board. I don't care if it's about Judaism or the Knights Templar or the Magdalene and the Grail and whatever else. And yet those books are loaded with disinformation to put you off on the wrong track. So my work is also very deconstructive in that way as well, is to point you in the direction of the great minds that you totally need to have in your library, but also to be kind of wary of those who are unleashed by the beast, so to speak, to have extremely high-level publishing deals. And this even goes for the media. This even goes for the type of shows that are now being produced on BBC and PBS in America that are dabbling into this occult stuff that Jordan Maxwell and others and myself have been dealing with for years and years and years. They're literally plagiarizing it, directly plagiarizing it, and then putting it on there with their own little goon, and then trying to tell, going out to the millions who have never seen this before, and then believe that, oh, isn't it wonderful that the BBC have finally told us the truth about Jesus and the crucifixion or the cults of the ancient world. And that poor guy sitting there in suburbia hasn't the faintest idea that people lived and died and sweated blood to bring that knowledge out from the recesses of the underworld, you know. But now you click on your remote control and there's BBC doing it, or the Discovery Channel doing it. So that also needs to be taken in mind. Is I'm glad the information is out, better than not being out, but at the same time, it's the means by which it's coming out. Yeah. So you're asking me about, oh yeah, you're a layman and you just have this radio show. It's crucial that people with integrity who will even have a person like me or Jordan on, you don't even know the good that you're doing, because right now our knowledge is being eclipsed and plagiarized and appropriated by the mainstream, who are doing it precisely so that people like us don't get our time on mainstream television. They're absolutely making sure that our voice doesn't reach the public. And one of the ways to do that is to homogenize the knowledge. I know it sounds strange if you're not familiar with this, but this is what they do. The mainstream plays a game. It walks in rhythm with you to find out. It always has its fingers on the pulse of what's happening in the underworld, because it knows that that's where the mavericks are. That's where, if those people were given 10 minutes of TV time, the world would change on its axis, man. Mm-hmm. So they cut you off at the pass, so to speak. So in order for me to have 2 hours to speak freely and openly and without censorship on any public format is, to me, a very, very brilliant thing. It's not to be underestimated at all. So again, you should feel good about that.
Yeah, it's the age of the internet. It allows that to happen.
Exactly. Well, anyway, guys, thank you very much again, and
anytime. This was amazing.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
Best of luck with the show. You'll be able to get me a copy, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'll send you a link when it's up.
Thanks, mate. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.
If you begin to feel overlooked, consider your Earth. What do you feel?